Hello, it's time for MBC Morning Edition with me, Simeon Boyce. A look at our top stories. President Mutharika completes the appointment of cabinet. All is set for the opening of the 52nd session of Parliament today. Government says it has put in place strict fiscal policy measures to address economic challenges facing the country. Glad you could join us. President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika has completed the appointment of cabinet ministers in his government. In a statement from the Chief Secretary to government, the new appointees are Bright Msaka, who is now Minister of Education, Science and Technology, Charles Muhango, Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Minister of Health and Sanitation is Madalitso Baloi. President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika is expected to officially open the 52nd session of Parliament this morning. During the opening, the President will make a statement. President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika and the First Lady has expressed sadness over the passing of the newly appointed Principal Secretary for the Ministry of Lands, Wes Kaira. According to the minister, key on the list is cut to public expenditure. Existing gap between local and revenue expenditure is an alarm alert. Owen Mavola reports.
Economists, researchers and policymakers have converged in Mangochi, where this year's Economics Association of Malawi ECAMA Annual Economic Conference is currently underway. The annual conference provides a platform for stakeholders in the economic sector to discuss economic issues, share research and promote economic development in Malawi. Speaking when he presided over the official opening of the 2025 ECAMA Annual Economic Conference, Minister of Finance Joseph Mwanamveka disclosed that government is engaging in serious reforms to bring the economy back to its feet, saying that for the past 5 years, Malawi's economy has been in bad shape due to fiscal indiscipline. According to the minister, government is working on addressing challenges in areas of food security, fuel, fertilizer, forex, and pharmaceuticals, among others.
First one is to address expenditure. We need to cut expenditure. If indeed this economy is to turn around, we need to cut expenditure, and there are several areas that we want to cut, and I'm sure some of them our President Professor Mutharika will be addressing. And also some of those, we have produced what we call an economic recovery plan, which is going to address that. And this economic recovery plan, it talks to the manifesto that we have published. And the two are talking to each other. So that also we have specific measures, how to cut expenditure, how to increase on revenues, and also how do we ensure that we generate more foreign exchange in the banks.
In her remarks, ECAMA President Betha Bangala Chikadza said ECAMA is committed to helping government in providing targeted solutions to challenges facing the economy.
ECAMA, we have always provided solutions, but even sometimes making some calculations on how certain things should go. We just like the commitment that is coming with the minister, that every time we give a proposal, we should also give maybe solutions, and he is committed to take that, and that is actually an assurance to us.
Economics Association of Malawi, ECAMA's work focuses on analyzing economic trends, identifying policy options, and advocating for sustainable economic growth and development. The 2025 ECAMA Annual Economic Conference is being held under the theme Beyond the Crisis, Reshaping the Economy. Owen Mavula, MBC, Mangochi.
We go back to our main story where we're saying the President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika has completed the appointment of ministers. In a statement from the Chief Secretary to Government, the new appointees are Brighton Saka, who is now Minister of Education, Science and Technology, Charles Muhango, Minister of Justice, Constitutional Affairs, Minister of Health and Sanitation is Madalitso Baloi. Cholo Central Parliamentarian Benny Pili is Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. Feston Kaupa is new Minister of Transport. Peter Mukito, Minister of Homeland Security, and is being deputized by Norman Chisale. Cholo Tava Parliamentarian Mary Navicha has been appointed Minister of Gender, Children, Disability and Social Welfare. Jean Matanga is Minister of Natural Resources, Energy and Mining. DPP's Vice President for the North, Japi Muhango, is now heading the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development. Joe Chigona is Minister of Labour, Skills and Innovation, and the Youth Patricia Wixkesi is the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture. Chimwemwe Chipungu is Deputy Minister of Health, Sanitation. Martha Ngwira is Deputy Minister of Gender, Children, Disability and Social Welfare. Francis Fole has been appointed as Deputy Minister of Education, Science and Technology. Earlier, President Mutharika appointed George Chaponda to head Minister of Foreign Affairs, Alfred Gangata, Minister of Interior Affairs and International Cooperation, Joseph Mwanamveka, Minister of Finance, and Rosa Mbilizi, Minister of Agriculture, Irrigation, Water Development, and George Partridge, Minister of Industrialization, Business, Trade, and Tourism. President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika is expected to officially open the 52nd session of Parliament this morning. During the opening, the President will make a statement. Democratic Progressive Party DPP legislator for Cholo Central, Benny Pili, has described the election of DPP-aligned Speaker of Parliament as a major political milestone, saying it will enable smooth implementation of the party's manifesto and President's agenda. Speaking at a dinner organized for parliamentarians in Lilongwe, Pili said the election signifies stability within two of the three arms of government, both led by politicians, and will allow government to hit the ground running as Parliament convenes today. He speaks to Babla Mandira.
I am super excited, very, very happy, probably as happy as I was when the DPP won the general elections. And I'm saying this because the government has got three arms of government, and two of them really are run by politicians. And politics being what it is, if you don't have your own party speaker, you create a lot of problems. Politics plays and you can't run smoothly. With our manifesto, we are now good to go. We will set the ground running, and that begins with Parliament that sits from Friday. Malawians voted us on a number of promises. Number one was that Malawi could be better again, that freedom of expression and peace will prevail, and that Malawians wanted change. I can confirm to you that all those the President has retaliated a couple of times in his speeches. Therefore, Parliament will be very important in this, because it will have to change laws that benefits Malawians. It will have to pass budgets that will be speaking to the manifesto that we have, that will help the President implement and accomplish exactly what he promised the people. Otherwise, the trust that the President has gotten comes purely out of trust. And if Parliament could not work properly, then it would have frustrated the President. So this is a milestone to His Excellency the President.
Vice-Chancellor for University of Livingstonia, Reverend Dr. Timothy Nyasulu, has urged the newly appointed parliament leadership to serve people with diligence and prioritize national development over party politics. Reverend Nyasulu hailed President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika for the wise choice of parliamentary leadership, saying this combination encompasses all regions. Hassan Piri reports.
Speaking to MBC, University of Livingstonia Vice-Chancellor Reverend Timothy Nyasulu said the appointment of Japi Muhango as the new leader of the House is a clear manifestation that the President has respect and love for all people. The UNLIA Vice-Chancellor also advised the new Speaker of Parliament, Samia Suleiman, and his deputies, Victor Musowa and Esther Jolobala, to prioritize on debates that focus on national development than party politics.
This is very critical in the sense that you have to make sure that how the House runs its businesses, it should make sure that it is for Malawians. You know, these members of parliament, I like them when they say, when they have mentioned of a constituency, they say the people of so and so constituency. They don't mention their names. They mention the name of a constituency, which means they know that they are not representing themselves, so they are representing Malawians. A leader of the House, equally, has to make sure that deliberations that are taking place there, they don't just benefit members of parliament that are there, but there is a benefit for Malawians. Ordinary Malawian that is somewhere in the village.
Commenting on the same, DPP Regional Governor for the North, Christopher Nzomela said the appointment of Japi Muhango as the new leader of the House is the greatest honor accorded to the people of the region. He also said this means that the region is fully participating in the national agenda.
This shows the trust the President has in this young man, Right Honorable Japi Muhango, and indeed the love the President has for the people of the Northern region. It is in the first history of Malawi that we have in our time the leader of the House coming from the Northern region. Indeed, we are so thankful to His Excellency Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika.
Both UNLIA Vice-Chancellor Reverend Timothy Nyasulu and DPP Regional Governor for the North, Nzomela Ngwira, have hailed President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika for taking time in the appointment of people in various positions. Hassan Piri, MBC News, Nzuzu.
President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika and the First Lady, Madam Gertrude Mutharika, have expressed sadness over the passing of the newly appointed Principal Secretary of the Ministry of Lands, Wezi Kaira. A statement from the Office of the President and Cabinet says the first couple is profoundly grieved by the death of Wezi Kaira, who they have described as a highly distinguished and dedicated public servant who served the nation with exceptional commitment and integrity in various senior positions. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says 7 bodies of people who died in a road accident in South Africa recently are being repatriated back home. In a statement, the ministry says the bodies are expected to arrive at Mwanza border on Friday, which is today. Government says it has put in place strict fiscal measures aimed to address economic challenges facing the country. Minister of Finance Joseph Mwanamveka disclosed this when he presided over the official opening of the 2025 Economics Association of Malawi ECAMA annual conference currently underway in Mangochi. You are watching MBC News, a reminder of our top stories. President Mutharika completes the appointment of cabinet. All is set for the opening of the 52nd session of Parliament today. Government says it has put in place strict fiscal policy measures to address economic challenges facing the country. Minister of Foreign Affairs George Chabonda has described China's continued support to Malawi as a tool that is promoting the country's development agenda and improving livelihoods. Chabonda was speaking at the Chinese embassy in Lilongwe during the celebration of the 76th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. Charles Wahala reports.
According to Minister of Foreign Affairs George Chabonda, China continues to be a guiding voice in global development, particularly through innovation and infrastructure development, from which Malawi has benefited greatly. The minister pointed out the construction of the majestic Parliament building and other road networks in the country as a true demonstration of friendship between Malawi and China. Chabonda singled out China's cancellation of the $20 million debt owed by Malawi as a generous gesture that supports Malawi's economic development.
We can learn that through discipline, focus, no corruption, zero corruption, we can also benefit. And not only that, through hard work, we have seen ourselves, as it has been demonstrated inside during the briefing, that through mechanization, you can improve the capacity of the agriculture sector. The People's Republic of China live up to the adage which has always been said, that don't give a person fish, but teach a person how to fish.
In her remarks, a Chinese ambassador to Malawi, Lu Zhu, pledged support to Malawi on the path of industrialization and modernization. Recently, China donated rice and corn following President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika's appeal in addressing key areas of food, fertilizer, fuel, and medicine. Charles Wahara, MBC News, Lilongwe.
Malawi said to have a long way to go in reaching the desired 30% representation of women in Parliament. Chairperson of Malawi Electoral Commission, MEC, Justice Annabel Mtalimanja's remarks comes as only 48 women have made it to Parliament out of the more than 200 legislators who won the parliamentary seats in the September 16 elections. She was speaking in Salima at the 2025 annual general meeting for the Association of Women in Media. Ruth Chinangwa reports.
Speaking to female journalists in Salima during the 2025 annual general meeting, she noted that the country has made little progress towards this goal based on statistics from previous elections. She explained that out of the 222 parliamentarians in the current assembly, 48 are women. The chairperson also urged female journalists to continue covering women who have been elected to parliament and those who have not, even after the election period.
Part of the conversation is fostering professionalism and integrity among media professionals, particularly the membership of our women. As you know, elections are a process, they are not an event. For us to have meaningful participation of women in the elections and then in the governance space, we need to have specific and deliberate programming to ensure that. So the call is to the AOME membership as media professionals to ensure that they are discharging their functions with professionalism and integrity, because that is what is going to help to achieve that goal, to ensure that first of all we have women who are participating. That means someone needs to provide a conducive environment, and also to sustain women in governance spaces. We also need empowerment in that regard.
In a separate interview, one of the trustees for AOME, Jane Gogodes, further called on female journalists to rise above noise and maintain their voices in the media industry.
Having an annual general meeting is a time to reflect and also to look at what we have done and what we need to do. So what I basically looked at was, while looking at our achievements, we have a bigger role to play now. that the elections are over, and also we need now to continue to sustain this talk and to sustain these interviews with those who won and those who didn't win, and also to sustain the women voices. But having done that, we also need, as a media association of women, to be able to be ready, to be able to forge ahead, to be able to ask questions, critical questions like, what is it that I can do as a woman to be able to forge those voices of other women ahead? So we need to start with ourselves. Things that we've done in the past year, many women have won awards. You remember we had Miss Awards and many women won awards, and we also celebrated them. And we've also had our own women within the media who have upgraded themselves.
The meeting brought together over 90 women in media from across the country, held under the theme Beyond the Ballot, Sustaining Women's Voices in Governance. Ruth Chinangwa, MBC News, Blantyre.
The Magistrates Court in Lilongwe has granted bail to 9 people suspected to have assaulted activist Sylvester Nkhani of the Center for Democracy and Economic Development Initiatives, CEDED. The incident happened in June this year as Nkhani led demonstrations. The court says it has considered Section 42, subsection E of the Constitution, which allows a suspect to be granted bail. From Lilongwe, Patrick Dambula reports.
During a previous court sitting, the state had objected to the bail application by the defense, arguing that it was difficult to arrest the suspects as they were not available in their homes. The state also argued that releasing the suspects on bail would be dangerous as they are capable of threatening witnesses or fleeing once out of custody. However, when he read out the decision of the court, Principal Resident Magistrate Benjamin Ichulu said the court has considered the provisions of Section 42, subsection E of the Constitution, which gives a suspect the right to bail, as long as doing so would not interfere with the delivery of justice. The court then went ahead to grant the suspects bail on conditions that each one of them pays a surety of 500,000 kwacha, each one of them produces 2 sureties bonded at 2.5 million kwacha, and that they should also surrender their travel documents. However, despite being granted bail, the suspects will spend another night in custody as the court did not yet finish cross-examining the sureties, and that the accounts department of the court, where they are supposed to pay, had already closed by the time the court was adjourning. The process is expected to finish on Friday. The 9 suspects are facing 6 charges each, which are acting with intention to cause grievous harm, robbery, arson, and obtaining property by force. Patrick Dambula, MBC News, Lilongwe.
The Center for Democracy and Economic Development Initiatives, CEDED, has urged members of Parliament and the government to establish laws that will protect consumer rights, ensure transparency, and reinforce the effectiveness of the Declaration of Assets and for future acts. CEDED Executive Director Sylvester Nkhani made the call during a press briefing held in Lilongwe. He also called on the government to investigate the operations of NOCMA and MERA following allegations of corruption within these institutions. Nkhani elaborates.
You have made a number of proposals that they should debate genuinely and see whether we need to have standalone acts or they should amend existing laws and legislation. To start with, if you are serious about fighting corruption, we need a legislation on lifestyle audit. We need to check if at all the kind of lifestyle displayed by our public officers is indeed in tandem with their revenue, if you are at all serious about the fight against corruption. We also need transparency, fairness, and accountability in the marketplace. That calls for a comprehensive and a robust legislation that should protect consumer rights. After all is said and done, Malawians are being sold a dummy in the name of corporate social responsibility. We need mandatory corporate social responsibility where 10% should be dedicated to the communities that are directly affected by that commercial entity.
In sports, the TNM Super League title race reaches the hottest point with 2 Blantyre Giants, Mighty Wanderers, and FCB Nyasa Big Bullets inching very closer. Wanderers, who remain unbeaten in the National Flagship League, leads the table with 51 points, which is 2 points ahead of the second-placed Bullets. Meanwhile, sports analyst who is former Master FC and Kamuzu Barracks General Secretary Christopher Njeula predicts tough contention between the two giants, but suggests that finest technical approach will determine the title. He shares his insights.
It is highly contested now. If we look at the gap between the two teams, Wanderers leading by 2 points ahead of Nyasa Big Bullets. It's a very tight. It's a very tight. If we factor in the games that are actually remaining for the season to be concluded. So technically, between one of these two teams, one of them can actually clinch the title if they are going to perform with the impetus that they have actually taken into the second league. So it's an open title race. Any team between the two can actually clinch. We are not ruling out Silver Strikers, although they are drift 10 points away from the second place team, just a big place, but they still have got a chance to actually also take the championship if they are to win most of their games, and hoping and praying that both Nyasa Big Bullets and the Wanderers are actually dropping points unnecessarily. At this point in time, technical approach will actually do a huge difference. If we look at both all the 16 teams, they have actually played each other in the first round. So it's up to the technical panel now to actually see how they fared in the first games between each and every team that they played against, looking at their strength and the weaknesses and see how best they can capitalize on that. So it's high time that the teams invest in data management. We have seen Wanderers doing a double against Bullets. It means that they did a proper homework in terms of their data management. They saw where they can hit Nyasa Big Bullets. Basically, teams that wish to do well in the second round must actually do a proper assessment before meeting each and every team that they want that they meet in the second round.
Well, that item concludes this edition of MBC News. A reminder of our top stories before we leave. President Mutharika completes the appointment of cabinet. All is set for the opening of the 52nd session of Parliament today. Government says it has put in place strict fiscal policy measures to address economic challenges facing the country. Keep up to date with our news on all our digital platforms by scanning the QR code at the top right corner of your TV screen. You were with me, Simeon Boyce. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Why your mama?